What happens when the owner of a 16-branch insurance company poses as a trainee call center rep and hears a manager deny a grieving widow's valid claim? Adam Orton stared at the complaints file on his office desk. It wasn't one complaint. It was 27. All in the last 6 weeks. All from one location, Branch 9, a mid-sized office in St. Louis. Most of them were vague, rude service, they don't care, they just said no without even reading my policy. The district manager had brushed it off, saying it was just difficult customers. But something didn't sit right. Adam inherited the company from his father 3 years ago. He'd spent most of that time in corporate, fixing tech systems, expanding the company's reach, and opening 5 new branches. But somewhere along the way, he'd stopped showing up at the front lines. He didn't know the frontline workers anymore. Didn't know what they dealt with. And now something felt wrong. So he made a decision. He'd go undercover. Just for a week. He'd pose as a new call center trainee, shadowing and learning. It wouldn't be suspicious this was one of the newer branches. Opened 2 years ago, and he'd never met the staff there. The office had over 30 employees and constant turnover up front. No one would recognize him. His disguise was careful but realistic. Dyed brown hair with a slight fade, glasses, and a different posture. He wore regular clothes instead of his usual tailored stuff. He picked the name Aaron for the training files. The company's HR team helped quietly. Only the head of HR and his assistant knew anything. On Monday morning, he walked into Branch 9, a plain glass building with a blue sign outside. Busy, loud, and full of ringing phones. The front desk clerk, a woman in her 50s named Ruth, greeted him with a quick wave. "You're the new guy, right? Training on phones?" "Yeah," Adam said. "Aaron, I'm supposed to meet with." "Phil?" "That's me," said a man from down the hall. Phil was the branch manager. Early 40s, buzz cut, cheap watch, and a voice that carried across the room even when he whispered. "All right, let's get you set up. You'll shadow Jeremy today. He'll show you the ropes. You'll listen in, take notes, learn our system." Jeremy was in his late 20s, with a fast way of talking and a face that looked like it hadn't slept well in a while. "Phones are brutal on Mondays," he muttered. "You'll see." Adam followed him to a cramped cubicle, headset ready. By noon, he'd heard 5 calls. 3 were straightforward. 2 were not. One was a woman trying to file a claim after a car accident. Jeremy rushed her off the phone. "You didn't submit the photos right. Try again through the portal." Click. Another was a man whose home had water damage. "We're not covering that kind of pipe issue," Jeremy said flatly. "It's in the policy." Adam checked the policy on the screen. It was covered. Jeremy shrugged. "We just say no first. If they push, then maybe we look." Adam bit his tongue. The day passed. He jotted notes. Never broke character. At his desk, he heard Phil call out from his office, "We're not a charity. Tell them no and move on. That's the rule." Tuesday got worse. A call came in around 11. An elderly woman, her voice shaking, said her husband had passed from a heart attack. She was trying to claim the life insurance payout. She had the paperwork already filled. Jeremy flagged it to Phil. Phil walked over, grabbed the file, skimmed it, then muttered, "She's 3 days past the 60-day window." Denied. She said her daughter was hospitalized. She didn't even know about the deadline. Phil didn't blink. "Not our problem. Tell her it's denied." Next. Jeremy glanced at Adam, then picked up the phone and said it. Adam clenched his jaw. His heart pounded. This wasn't a mistake. This was how they ran things here. After lunch, Adam got his own calls. No real power, just shadowing. But he listened. Took notes. Saw patterns. There was one bright spot. Paula Elridge. She was in the back corner. Late 30s, sharp mind, warm voice. She handled every call with care. Spoke with calm, explained policies, stayed on the line even after the timer ticked past the average. Adam watched her help a man with cancer file a disability claim he didn't know he qualified for. "You saved me," the man said before hanging up. "You really did." Paula didn't brag. Didn't even look up. Just kept going. Adam decided to speak to her during break. "You always like this?" he asked casually, sipping bad coffee. She smiled. I just try to treat people like I'd want someone to treat my mom. Insurance is confusing. I figure it's our job to help, not just push people off the phone. He nodded. You ever get pushback for going the extra mile? She hesitated, then said, Phil doesn't love it. Says I waste time. But I don't care. I've got 2 kids. I want to be the kind of person they're proud of. Adam felt something tighten in his chest. She didn't know who he really was. Didn't know he had the power to change everything. That night, he couldn't sleep. Phil was dismissing valid claims. Not out of error, but on purpose. To hit numbers. And Paula? She was doing everything right and being pushed aside for it. Adam stared at the ceiling of his hotel room. He'd seen enough. Tomorrow, he'd answer calls himself. No Jeremy. No Phil. Just him. And if the pattern continued? He wasn't walking out quietly. Wednesday morning opened with a cold silence in the Branch 9 bullpen. Phones rang, keyboards clacked, and a faint hum from the overhead lights buzzed just a touch louder than usual. Adam, still going by Aaron, logged in early. No Jeremy today. He had asked to take calls on his own, claiming he wanted to practice under pressure. Phil had waved it off without much interest. The first few calls were simple. A billing question. A request for a missing policy document. Adam handled them calmly, walked each caller through the steps, and added careful notes to the system. He cross-checked every policy before answering. No shortcuts. At precisely 9:30, a call came through from a man in his 60s who had lost his home in a fire. He had full property coverage and the documentation was already in the system. But the claim had been sitting untouched for almost a month. I was told someone would call me within 5 business days, the man said. That was 3 weeks ago. Adam pulled up the internal logs. No follow-up, no status change, no escalation. I'm really sorry about the delay, he said. I'll personally make sure this gets pushed forward today. It should have been handled already. The man's voice cracked. We've been living in a motel. My wife's on oxygen. I just needed to know someone saw us. Adam flagged the claim for urgent review and left a note for upper-level processing. Then he walked over to Paula's station while she was typing up an after-call summary. You ever notice claims getting stalled without reason? He said, keeping his tone light. You mean here at 9? She asked without looking up. Yeah. All the time. Usually the ones that'll cost us more than a few grand. They get buried unless someone yells loud enough. Meaning customers have to fight. That's how it works here. Not everywhere, just this branch. Adam nodded slightly. Who makes that decision? Paula hesitated. Phil. And sometimes Melissa, the floor lead. Depends on the day. But if a claim's too expensive, it disappears for a while. Melissa hadn't appeared on his radar yet. She was technically second in command, but so far she'd been in and out of meetings and barely interacted with him. Adam decided to watch her closely today. By noon, he had his chance. A younger woman named Naomi, new to the team with less than 2 months on the job, flagged Melissa over to her desk. Adam was seated close enough to hear everything. This guy's claim looks valid, Naomi said quietly. But the system says do not escalate per MO. I don't know what MO stands for. Means me, Melissa replied flatly. Leave it. Move on. But he submitted everything. And the fire marshal's report is here. Melissa leaned in. You're not paid to think. You're paid to move fast. If he calls again, transfer him to me. Got it? Naomi's face fell. Yes, ma'am. Adam's jaw tensed. He waited until Melissa walked back to her office, then approached Naomi during break. She was standing near the vending machine, arms crossed, eyes on the floor. First fire claim? He asked. I've seen 3 like that this week, she said quietly. All flagged. All ignored. I don't know what to do. I'm still on probation. You worry they'll fire you if you push back? I know they will. Last week, another girl named Jen tried to argue about a disabled veteran's claim. They told her she wasn't a culture fit and she was gone the next day. Adam blinked. They said that. Naomi nodded. This wasn't just policy manipulation. It was intimidation. The final straw came at 4:15. Adam took a call from a woman named Amira Khan. Her name popped up on the screen alongside notes. Auto-denial flagged high-risk demographic. He froze. He read the policy. It was clean. Full coverage. She had been rear-ended at a stoplight by a confirmed at-fault driver. The police report was uploaded, complete with dashcam footage. "Ma'am, I want to apologize for the delay," he said carefully. "I'm going to review this right now with a supervisor." He put her on hold and walked directly into Phil's office without knocking. "She's been waiting 3 weeks," Adam said. The other driver admitted fault. "Why was this flagged?" Phil didn't look up from his screen. "She's in one of those zip codes. High fraud risk. We wait and see if they push back. If they don't, we save a payout." Adam stared at him. "You're denying claims based on zip codes?" "It's not personal," Phil said. "It's just math. We're not running a charity." Adam stepped forward. "You realize this is illegal, right? You're profiling people. You're leaving valid claims unpaid. You're manipulating employees into silence." Phil leaned back, amused. "You a union guy or something?" Adam swallowed the rising anger in his throat. "No. I'm Adam Orton." Phil blinked. "The owner," he said, voice low. Adam nodded. Outside the office, Paula, Naomi, and half the floor had gone still. Phones rang unattended. Conversations froze. Melissa stepped out of her office, confused. "What's going on?" Adam turned to her. "You're Melissa?" "Yes." "Why?" "You're done here. Clear out your desk." "What?" "You can't." "I can. You're terminated effective immediately. HR will follow up with documentation." Melissa's face flushed. "This is insane." Adam didn't flinch. "What's insane is flagging claims based on people's names and neighborhoods. What's insane is ordering new hires to ignore legitimate disasters. Get your things." She stormed out without another word. Phil stood slowly. "Look, I was just following targets. We've been under pressure. You made this culture, Phil. You punished compassion, rewarded delay, and profiled families. You're gone." He opened his mouth, but Adam cut him off. "You'll get your exit paperwork tonight. Security will walk you out." Phil's departure was silent. No one said a word. After they were gone, Adam turned back to the floor. "I'm not here to scare you," he said, raising his voice just enough. "I came undercover because I stopped trusting secondhand reports. What I found here was unacceptable." He looked at Naomi. "You did the right thing trying to speak up. That won't be punished again." He looked at Paula. "You're the kind of person this company was built for. Starting Monday, you're the interim branch lead. HR will confirm the promotion tomorrow." Paula's eyes widened, but she didn't say anything. Adam continued. "We'll be doing a full audit of every denied claim from this branch over the last 6 months. If you've seen something wrong, report it. HR will protect you. And from now on, if a claim is valid, it gets processed. I don't care how long it takes." He paused, scanning their faces. No one looked away. This company's not going to be driven by fear or quotas anymore. It's going to be driven by people who care. And for the first time in that building, no one looked over their shoulder. No one rushed back to their phone. They just stood there, breathing a little easier. Adam nodded once, then walked back to the break room, pulled out his phone, and called corporate. "Send in a cleanup team," he said. "We've got work to do." Thursday began with the unmistakable weight of silence, like a room still echoing from a storm. Adam arrived early, no longer needing to wear the glasses or soften his posture. Everyone at Branch 9 knew exactly who he was now. He didn't walk in with fanfare. He took the same desk he'd been using all week, put on the headset, and pulled up the queue. Paula arrived just after him, now in her new role. She carried a worn leather notebook and looked like she hadn't slept, but there was a quiet steadiness in her steps. "I've already started reviewing the flagged cases," she said once they were both settled. "There's a pattern. Anything marked with the internal tag MO hold or Z flag was stalled, mostly high payout or from certain zip codes." Adam nodded. "Keep logging everything. We're going to need a full report to hand off to compliance." Naomi came in a few minutes later, eyes flicking toward the empty manager's office as if expecting someone to fill it. She gave a small nod to Adam, then sat at her station. No one said much. There was still tension, not fear exactly, but a waiting kind of energy, like the floor wasn't sure if things were really different or just different for now. Calls started coming in by 8:30. Adam handled the first 5 himself, taking notes, forwarding valid claims, and checking every past action for inconsistencies. Around 9, a man named Curtis, one of the mid-level reps, flagged Paula over. "I've got a situation," he said, pointing at the screen. "This guy has a disability claim stuck in processing. Looks clean, but it's been untouched for 2 months. It's marked pending verification with no actual verification request sent." Paula leaned in. "Who handled it last?" Curtis clicked through the timeline. "Melissa." "Push it through," she said, and flagged the delay for audit. Curtis hesitated. "You sure we won't get heat for moving too fast now?" Paula didn't blink. "You'll get heat if you don't." Adam watched the exchange without interrupting. It wasn't about him anymore. This was about whether the new leadership had teeth. So far, it did. At 10, HR arrived. 2 representatives, both from head office, came to conduct exit interviews with Phil and Melissa, gather statements, and begin the internal investigation. They set up in the unused conference room, and Adam made sure they had access to all the flagged data. By mid-morning, the floor began to breathe again. Not relaxed, but focused. There were fewer glances over shoulders. Even the calls sounded sharper, more patient, more deliberate. At 11:15, a woman named Carla, who had mostly kept her head down all week, walked up to Adam's desk. "I need to talk to you," she said, glancing toward the break room. "Privately." They stepped into the small kitchen, just the two of them. She closed the door behind them. "I don't know how much you've seen," she said, "but some of the worst stuff didn't happen on the phones. It happened in the back room." "What kind of stuff?" Carla pressed her thumb into her palm. "Last fall, Melissa told one of the new girls, Layla, not to wear her headscarf. Said it made clients uncomfortable if she was ever on video calls." Adam felt the breath leave his chest. Did Layla report it? She tried. But Phil told her it was a misunderstanding, and that Melissa was just giving presentation feedback. Nothing changed. Layla quit 2 weeks later. Who else knew? Almost everyone. But no one wanted to be next on the list. Adam paused. "Thank you for telling me. I'll make sure that's part of the investigation." Carla nodded, but didn't move to leave. "There's something else," she said. Phil used to reroute Spanish-speaking clients away from the bilingual reps. Why? He said it took too long to handle those calls, and that they always found something to complain about. His words, not mine. "He told us to say they had to call back during language hours. But there's no such policy." Adam stared at the floor for a long beat. Did anyone push back? One guy, Diego. He tried to document it. Phil had him transferred to a branch 2 hours away. Told him it was a promotion. Diego didn't even have a car. Adam nodded once. "Get back to work. I'll take care of this." When he returned to his desk, he called HR into the conference room. "I want full personnel files pulled for every employee who left this branch in the last year," he said. "I want exit interviews, complaint records, and internal emails. Especially anything involving Layla or Diego." The HR rep, a woman named Celine, nodded. "We'll start that immediately. If there's a pattern, we'll find it." "There's a pattern," Adam said. "You just have to look." By early afternoon, a new issue surfaced. Curtis flagged another claim to Paula, this one marked internal dispute, but the notes were vague. Adam leaned over to review it. The client was a small business owner whose commercial property had been damaged during a storm. His claim had been denied under the grounds of improper documentation. But the files were all there, photos, receipts, contractor estimates. "What's the dispute?" Adam asked. Curtis scrolled through. "Looks like Melissa left a private note. Client has history of complaints. Not worth the payout if he's going to badmouth us anyway." Adam stood up. "That's retaliation. Reopen the case and escalate it to claims review." Curtis didn't hesitate this time. A few minutes later, Naomi approached Paula's desk. Her voice was low but direct. "I checked the shared drive. Melissa had a spreadsheet labeled pushback clients. It lists names and tags them based on how difficult they've been. There are notes like sue risk and delay until drop." Paula looked at Adam, who didn't speak for a moment. "Send the file to HR. And back it up." By 3, the floor was operating on a tight rhythm. Claims were being processed. Delays were being corrected. And for the first time all week, someone laughed, just a small chuckle from Curtis after a client thanked him for actually calling back. Adam stepped into the hallway and called the head of compliance. "I need you to prioritize Branch 9, he said. "We have confirmed retaliation against employees, discriminatory practices, and willful claim suppression. You want a desk audit or a full field team?" "Full field. I want agents here Monday." He hung up and turned to Paula, who was reviewing a customer survey report at her desk. "You holding up?" She looked at him, as tired but steady. "I'm fine. Just trying not to miss anything." "You won't. And I'm not leaving you alone in it." She gave a small nod. "This place feels different already. Not fixed, just clearer." Adam sat back down at his desk. "Tomorrow we meet with the full staff. Everyone. Open forum. Every question gets answered." Paula nodded. "They'll appreciate that." Adam picked up his headset again. "Let's make sure they have a reason to believe it." By Friday morning, every desk in Branch 9 was occupied, but no one looked comfortable. A mandatory all-staff meeting had been scheduled for 9 sharp, and the tension in the air was unmistakable. No one was quite sure what to expect. Some clutched notebooks, others sat with arms crossed, wary. The conference room, usually reserved for quarterly reviews and compliance trainings, was packed wall to wall. Adam stood at the front, not in a suit, not in disguise, just a plain button-down and rolled sleeves. Next to him, Paula had a legal pad filled with handwritten notes. She hadn't spoken much that morning, but her presence alone carried weight now. Adam began without a script. "You've all had a rough week. So have I. I'm not going to give you a speech about turning over a new leaf or starting fresh. That only means something if it's backed by action." Several employees shifted in their seats, eyes narrowing not in defiance but in cautious curiosity. "I came here because I stopped trusting the filtered reports from above. I'm glad I did. What I found was a branch that operated under pressure, fear, and silence. Some of you were mistreated. Others were forced to look the other way. And a few made decisions that hurt people who trusted this company." He paused long enough for the room to settle into the gravity of his words. "I want to be clear. That's over." Curtis raised his hand. "What happens next? I mean, we've seen changes this week. But what about going forward? We're restructuring leadership here. Not just replacing names on office doors. We're changing how decisions are made. Paula will be the acting branch lead until a formal review is completed. She'll report directly to me." Paula didn't speak, but Adam could see her grip tighten slightly on her notepad. She wasn't used to being the one looked at. But no one questioned the choice. "We're also bringing in a compliance team Monday. They'll be doing a full branch audit. Every claim denied in the last year is under review. If anything was mishandled, we'll fix it. That includes restitution if necessary." A woman near the back, Dana, lowered her arms. "What about the people who left? The ones who were pushed out?" "We're contacting each of them," Adam said. "We owe them more than just apologies. Some will be offered re-employment. Others may receive settlements. But we won't let what happened here stay buried. That includes Layla and Diego." The room went still again. Naomi leaned forward. "You're really going to own that publicly?" "I already have," Adam said. "Our legal team is preparing statements. But more importantly, we've changed internal policy to prevent this from happening again. Any discrimination, whether it's based on appearance, background, language, or religion, is grounds for immediate termination. No warnings. No second chances." There was movement from the far left side of the room. A man named Jonas, one of the quieter analysts, cleared his throat. "Look, I'm glad this is happening. But we've been understaffed for months. We're expected to handle call loads that no one can keep up with. It's not just the culture. It's the math. You want us to do right by customers? Then we need more people." Adam nodded. "You're right. That's already in motion. I've approved 3 new hires for this branch. They'll be on board starting next week. We're also introducing a queue triage system to reduce call volume per rep. Claims that don't require phone interaction will be routed through the portal directly to processing." Jonas leaned back slightly, surprised, but said nothing else. Curtis raised his hand again. "What about the people who did the wrong thing? Are they just gone and that's it?" "No," Adam said. "They're part of the investigation. If they violated ethical or legal boundaries, that doesn't vanish with a firing. We're cooperating fully with state regulators. Silence again, but this time it wasn't tense, it was thoughtful. Paula finally spoke. I know some of you feel like it's too late. Like this week was just a cleanup job and eventually things will go back to the way they were. I'm not going to pretend I can fix everything overnight, but I promise I'll fight for this branch, for the clients, for the staff who stayed honest through all of it. A younger man near the front, Miguel, looked up from his notepad. I've only been here 6 months. I almost quit twice, not because I didn't like the work, but because it felt like no one cared what happened once the call ended. This is the first time it feels like someone's listening. You're not alone, Paula said. I've been here long enough to know what silence does to people. We're done with silence. Adam glanced at the clock. I'm going to stay on site through next week, he said. I want to see how things settle. Not from a distance from the floor. You'll see me on calls, in meetings, at your desks. I don't want to disappear back to corporate and pretend this was just a 1-week experiment. Naomi raised her hand, hesitant. There's something I need to say. I waited too long. Adam nodded. Go ahead. When I started, I saw things I didn't understand. Claims being ignored. People being talked down to. I told myself it wasn't my place to question it. I was scared. But I want to do better. I think we all do. But we need to know we're safe when we speak up. You are now, Adam said. Starting today, we're implementing anonymous reporting for internal concerns. It goes straight to compliance, bypassing local management. And every report will be reviewed. No exceptions. The room held a long, collective breath. Finally, Curtis gave a slight nod. That works for me. Adam took a final look at the staff faces he now knew not as employees, but as people who had endured, tolerated, resisted, and in Paula's case, quietly led. We'll make mistakes along the way. But if we're honest and we hold each other accountable, then we're building something stronger than what we had. This company was founded to protect people. That has to start with how we treat our own. The meeting ended without applause. No one rushed out. They returned to their desks slowly in quiet reflection. But there was something new in the air, not relief, not celebration, but resolve. Later that afternoon, Adam passed by Paula's desk. She was reviewing a claim file, glasses low on her nose, her tone calm as she walked a client through coverage options. He waited until she was off the call. You still willing to take this on? He asked. I wouldn't still be here if I wasn't. You're going to have support now. Real support. Paula smiled faintly without lifting her eyes. Then I'll hold you to that. He stepped away without replying. That was the kind of promise that needed to be proven, not repeated. Before leaving for the day, Adam walked past the front desk where Ruth had just finished logging a courier delivery. She looked up with a glance that was less guarded than the first one he'd received earlier that week. You sticking around next week, boss? I am. Good. We've got a lot left to clean up. That we do. He stepped outside into the fading afternoon light. The sky was overcast, but the air felt clearer than it had in days. Inside, the phones kept ringing, but now they were being answered with care.